Okay, so it is lecture number 32. Uh, Title is transformation of random vectors. So by default, when nothing dimension of random vector is not mentioned, by default consider dimension of random vector happens to be n. So it is n dimensional random vector. That means there are n component. So n depends upon your choice whether you want to take two or three. You can't take one because if you are taking one by default, it would be a single random variable. So meaningless to talk about as a vector. So that's why n must be greater than or equal to 2. That is the criteria of being a vector. So for better explanation. So before going to that, I would talk about some recap that we had already discussed about in last class, that function of random vectors. Or in another sense, you can say that function of n random variable. So another that layman way you can say that. So here one example I would like to take just to know something more about function of random variable, that we are calling it merging of independent Poisson arrival. So Poisson arrival, that means here arrival time, if you are talking about arrival time in the arrival or inter arrival time of any two buses in buses, if you're just going to wait for bus at a bus stop, the number of count that number of buses that will pass through that from that bus stop, that would be discrete in nature, and you can explain that with the help of Poisson distribution. But when you talk about inter arrival time of any two bus, then that distribution will have exponential distribution. That time will have an exponential distribution. So I will talk about from that perspective. So suppose or inter arrival time of any two uh, packets in internet also, you can say that. So an arrival of anything it may possible. So suppose you are having a web page request arrive at a server from n independent sources. That means, and there are n independent sources. So you want to get some information regarding something, then uh, you have to scroll in the website. So that web page will send request to several server. Okay, it will send to server, and server will collect information from several independent sources. From there you will get information. And suppose source j generate packet with exponential distribution inter arrival time lambda j with rate lambda j. Lambda j happens to be uh, rate of that arrival. Okay, so you can say that the inter arrival time happens to be exponential in nature. Exponentially, it always, it is very much true that generally people are taking interval time in the exponential pattern. In random process also you will see that thing as well. So for the distribution of now what we have to find it here, we have to find the distribution of the inter arrival time between two consecutive requests at the server. So if you two consecutive requests are coming at the server, the what is the distribution of the inter arrival time of these two consecutive requests? Okay, so that we will find. Definitely it would be exponential in nature, we'll say. So in order to find the distribution, consider the inter arrival time for different sources. There are n sources, we term it by x1 x2 up to xn. X1 with respect to first source, x2 with respect to second source, likewise xn with respect to another source. So each xj satisfies what? Satisfy memorylessness property. Why? Because exponential distribution always happens to be memoryless. So that conditioning is not going to affect exponential distribution. That thing we had already seen during exponential distribution, or during conditioning approach we had already seen that the memorylessness property of exponential random variable. So that time has that so that the time has elapsed since the last arrival from each source is irrelevant. So conditioning is irrelevant. Simply I would like to say that conditioning is in term of probability, you can say that conditioning is irrelevant here. The time until the next arrival at the multiplexer is, then you can say that the desired time, it would be, we have to find minimum of xi. So that is the desired time, and the we have to find the distribution of that minimum xi. So what would be distribution? In last class I had already given uh, formula to find CDF for maximum of xi and minimum of xi. So the same formula you can take it like this way. So in order to find minimum of distribution of minimum of xi is, what you have to do, just take same concept that what you do, apply the probability of tail concept. So suppose you are having a distribution like this way. So this is the distribution, and it is very easy to find probability of tail. How you can find in term of CDF? So suppose this point is A, so you are willing to find probability that random variable is taking value afterward A. So that means you are trying to find probability of tail, that random variable is taking value greater than A. So from this you can easily find it like that. You know that total area of this distribution, it would be equal to 1, and from 1 you have to subtract this area in order to find this area. So this area plus this area equal to 1. So that's why in order to calculate this area, this that means probability of tail is just 1 minus this area. And what is the name of this area? It is talking about that probability up to A. So that's why we are writing probability of tail x greater than A. It is equal to 1 minus probability that x is value taking up to A. So that is the concept. Second, several times I have already mentioned this one. So you can use this concept in order to find first find CDF of this one, and after that differentiate and get PDF of this random variable, that minimum of xi, that desired time. So here 1 minus f of z, you are talking about probability of this tail, and this we have taken one condition, that if you are taking exponential random variable, then in this if you have to focus on source are not dependent, each source are independent, then corresponding exercise would be also independent. That's way you can factor this probability into as a product of this individual probability. And if you further simplify, it is product of n tail kind of probability. So just simplify it further, you will come to see that this 1 minus this CDF is equal to, it is coming in term of exponential. Why? Because each exercise happens to be exponential in nature, and we know that probability of tail is very easy to calculate. Everything is including probability of tail. It is a probability of tail in case of exponential random variable, it always happens to be exponential, pure exponential function. So same concept you can apply it here, and you will see that it would be okay. It is coming like this way. So further just you need to do little bit simplification. That means take one right hand side and write f of z equal to as a 1 plus or simply 1 minus some exponential function. I just differentiate it. It is just what is variable here? Variable, you observe that z is variable, so you differentiate, then directly you will get PDF of desired PDF, directly you will get. So I will talk one more problem related to function of random variable. That problem name is reliability of redundant system. Anyone is having any question, you can ask, otherwise I'm going forward. Okay, so suppose there is a computer cluster has an independent, remember that independent dependent terms are very important. You have to see clearly whether the question confirm dependency or independency or not, whether it is given or not. So you have to see clearly. So it is already given, a computer cluster has independent redundant subsystem. So you have broken, you have just you did a partition of that computer cluster, that cluster into an independent subsystem. Each subsystem has an exponential distributed lifetime with parameter lambda. Lifetime with parameter lambda. So here this question is also similar to what last question was. So the cluster will operate as long as at least one subsystem is functioning. Then we have to find the CDF of the time until the system fails. So what is the criteria of being system fails? So system fails means it is talking about that you are trying to find, so exercise happens to be a distribution related with each subsystem, or each sub x1 is with respect to first subsystem, x2 is with respect to subsystem. Then desired random variable would be maximization of xi. When system will failure, when you will talk about maximum of xi happens to be failure, that means everything will fail. That is the concept. Okay, So you have to find the CDF of this one. This CDF is very easy. What you have to do, that means you just apply the same definition of CDF that you are talking about, probability that maximum value is taking up to W. If maximum xi happens to be less than equal to W, it means each xi happens to be less than equal to W. So you can simply write this as a joint probability that x1 is less than equal to W, x2 is less than equal to W, but it is already given that each subsystem are independent. Here you can observe that. So due to this condition, we can write this probability as a product of individual probability. So these are the individual probability. So due to independent nature of subsystem, and each one is copy of the same, so that's way each one will have the same CDF. So that's way CDF of W, that will maximization of xi y, it would be what, product of CDF of x n time, that means CDF of x to the power n. And what is CDF of x happens to be exponential in nature, and if you are willing to find CDF, that then it is very easy to find it because it will take the exponential form. So this is the CDF of desired random variable. It is very easy to find the CDF of exponential random variable. So we had already done that. So just take that concept and put it here. So everything is finished with respect to function of random variable. Now we will talk about more important part of today's lecture, that I am talking about transformation of n random variable, or simply you can say that transformation of n random vector. Transformation of random vector or transformation of n random variable. So it is similar to like that. If you are having R2, so in R2 there, if you take any two linearly independent vector, then simplest, then definitely that vector would form what? It will form a basis. So simplest basis happens to be a standard basis whose first element is E1, that means 1 0 vector, and second is E2, that means 0 0 1. Okay, so someone is not confident with this representation, that suppose data is given here and data is aspirated like this one, then this representation doesn't look good. What you have to do, you have to rotate this this uh, rotation is one kind of transformation. So rotate it like this way, in such a way by 40 each axis by 45 degrees. From just do rotation of axis, don't do rotation of point. Point would be fixed. Point is static in nature, you can't play with point, because suppose x-axis is talking about x1 axis is talking about height, and x2 axis is talking about weight, then you can't alter the weight and height of persons from which sample you have taken. You are not allowed to alter the height and weight, just you are allowed to alter the coordinate representation. So just you do change of transformation, you are not altering the actual height and actual weight of persons. Just what you do, you are changing the representation. That is the idea. So one simple representation you can do like this way. You can consider that this is your one latent you can say that latent direction. Another latent direction is like this way, v2. There is a reason why I have taken that. So your new coordinate system for this representation, your coordinate is what will be linear combination of these standard basis element E1 and E2. And if you see in the transform space, in the transformation, you can observe that here your coordinate system is different. It is a linear combination of V1 and V2. Things would be, representation has been changed. So all these are talking about change of transformation or change of basis also, you can say that. So I'm talking from that perspective, transformation of random vector. So suppose one vector would be given, then we have to transform that vector to another vector. So how we do perform that transformation, so those things I will discuss it here. Suppose we are having a random vector with n component x1 x2 xn, and that means this defines a n number of random variables in some experiment, and z1 z2 z up to zn, these are the new random variable. We got it by transforming x1 x2 x3, and so simply you can say that that means you are having a random vector of size n, and then in that case you can say that z is a transformation of this random vector. That means z1 is equal to g1 of x, z2 equal to g2 of x, and zn equal to gene of x. So you can easily see that a bold letter I always use to represent a vector, and just a simple letter that whether capital or small that represent a variable, corresponding variable. So here z1, z2, all these are random variable. But if you try to take all these together, then capital Z, it will represent the transform random vector. X is the given random vector, and Z, this Z, okay, this dark Z, or you can observe like this way. This one is the vector. In simple, you can write it. G is also a vector valued function. Now you can write like this way. So I'm putting in dark, and it is a function of x. So everything is dark here. Everything is in dark. Okay, so everything is vector. So z is a vector, g is a what? G is a vector valued function, and x is the vector argument. So that is the concept. So now what we have to do when we are talking about transformation of a random vector x to another random vector z, then we have to talk about also what would be CDF of z with respect to that transformation. So we have to find the CDF of z at the point, this vector point z. It is equal to probability that the probability of the region of x where g, each component of this vector valued function g is less than equal to g of xk less than equal to uh, gk of x less than equal to zk for k varies from 1 to n, because there are n components. So this is the definition of CDF, and we do here pointwise less than equal to zi's. Pointwise because in vector I had already mentioned that order property is not valid there. So we are going for pointwise, coordinate wise. You can say that coordinate wise order property. So there is a coordinate wise order property. And suppose if x1, x2, xn, it is having a joint PDF, then what would be? We can say that CDF is nothing just integral of this PDF, this joint PDF. If CDF, if we are having CDF, then how we can get PDF? By differentiation, by doing partial derivative n time, then you will get your PDF. And if you are having PDF, integrate it n-fold with respect to respective random variable, then you will get your CDF. So that is the relation between PDF and CDF. We are used to doing that, so I don't have to recall it again and again. So here I will take a few examples, and further I will talk about also PDF. So just for understanding purpose, what I am doing here, I am taking two random vector. That means a random vector of dimension 2 that is having two components. One is x1, you can call it. Another is x2, and we are considering function of this random vector. So add, okay. So random vector always, whenever you will talk about vector, always we consider in column picture. So always we consider vector as a column form just for the calculation simplicity. Okay. Now we are having this random vector. Now we consider two random variable v and w. Those are actually function of this random vector. These two w and v are two function of these two random variable. That means we can say that v is a function of x1 and x2. That function we are calling it g1, and w is also a function of x1 and x2. That function we are calling it g2. So that means we are transforming x1 x2 to what, v and w. So assume that the function, one assumption we so these are the value of these are the random variable, and the corresponding values also would be associated for, so each xy we can see the relation between value of random variable v and w. How? So for each xy, so each xy, that means it is a value of random variable x, and this one is a value of one value of random variable y. So for each xy we can observe that uh, v is what? It is a function of xy. So you can write it like this way: v is a function of xy. So v, a small v, that means a specific value of random variable v. So it is a function of xy. So you can write a small v equal to g1 of xy But here in calculus there is a notation convention that you don't need to write G1 always. What you do, you can call this G1 as a function. It is actually V is a function of what? XY. So in simple you can write V is what? Actually it is a function of uh, XY. So you can simply write like this way. You don't need to put G1 here. By default you can consider that V would be G1. So you can this is one notation, one way to represent function of several variable. Similarly also would be what? It would be a function of two variable, again x and y. So you can what is that function? Function is G2. So W is actually G2 of xy. So same representation, you can say that W is nothing that actually it is a function of xy, and G2 can have the general kind of notation that W of xy. You can say that W of xy, it is talking about, that means at least G2 of xy. Similar thing it is talking. Just it is a notation convention. Okay. And now what if we put it here? Suppose this one is here we are our primal variable. You can say that our primal variable are x and y, and our transform variable happens to be u and w, v and w. So what we have to do? So can we get primal variable from the given transform variable or not? So if you can get, if it is given that mm, this one is solvable, so either you can get through one way or different way. So suppose G1 and G2 are invertible, then you can get uniquely x and y from v and w. If G1 and G2 are not invertible, then there might be possibility that you may get x and y or may not. So even x and y may be more than one. So there are more possibility would be there. So here simple consider we have taken that this equation and this equation are uniquely solvable. That means from after solving these two equations, we come to know that x is equal to h1 of v and w, and y is equal to h2 of v and w. So we are having two equations, and here consider that x and y as an unknown and solve it. It is one kind of inverse image problem. That inverse image, that means inverse problem, that in linear algebra we had already seen that we are having uh, coefficient matrix A, and we are having right hand side vector y, that means given vector. We have to find x. What is the x? So if suppose A is invertible, then easily we can find x. What it would be? And A is invertible and a square matrix, then easily we can find it. Ax would be A inverse y. Same situation is coming here. This is the desired solution. If A is not invertible, then there is a possibility. If A is not invertible, we may have in one solution. We may have no solution. We may have infinitely many solutions. So the several criteria would be here. So here, just similar to that, here we consider that these two equations are solvable and having only one solution, just unique solution. That pattern we consider it here, just for simplicity purpose. Okay, so the joint PDF of x and y is found. We can found by finding the approximate parallelogram of the equivalent event of infinitesimal rectangle in the UV plane by making the following approximation. How? You can observe that. So we know that v is a function of xy. So apply Taylor's theorem here. So you can approximate UK. I am calling it UK combined notation. You can say that. So k equal to 1, it would be v. K equal to 2, it would be w. So that general notation. So UK, you can say that it is gk of x plus just it is talking about Taylor's theorem along x1 axis or x axis. So if you do approximation of function, that gk along x1 axis, it just apply Taylor's theorem, it will take this form. If similarly, if you want to do Taylor's theorem approximation along y axis, so this is the approximation, and k equal to 1 for g1 and k equal to 2 for g2. That means k equal to 1 for u v and k equal to 2 for w. So it is Taylor series approximation. I will explain things here. So it is happening like this way. So the probability of infinitesimal rectangle and the parallelogram are approximately equal. Therefore, we can say that. So this is your primal. primal domain, that means primal domain xy, primal variable, the given variable xy, and you what you did here, you did a transformation of xy to v and w, you did transform. So here you can observe that this if you are taking simple just a geometrical structure, a rectangular rectangular in the transform space has been twisted, and now you can observe that the boundary of rectangle happens to be linear. After transformation we apply nonlinear transformation, everything becomes nonlinear here. Your boundary is also nonlinear, all boundaries happens to be nonlinear. So this is the transformation thanks to g1 and g2. Okay, so what you do here now, it is not directly easy to proceed with this transform thing. What you do, you can apply Taylor's theorem approximation. So you are applying Taylor's theorem point wise. So Taylor theorem approximation with respect to this point, with respect to this point, with respect to this point, and here you are having only two direction, either x direction or y direction in the domain of space. So that's where you do these are the Taylor's theorem express. This is simply, you can say that xy point has been transformed to vw, but other points are relative in the sense that it is coming, it's just linear approximation. You can observe that these are the linear approximation. So what is the linear approximation of this with respect to this point? You can draw tangent. So that talk about Taylor's theorem geometrically if you want to visualize. So here also draw tangent. Okay, everywhere draw tangent, each at each point draw tangent, and also here draw tangent. So it is actual transform of space. I am just giving visualization of this here in this plane itself, in transform of space itself. So if you similarly, if you transform here, so tangent I am taking like this way, so like this way, and here you can observe. So keep on drawing, so it will go something like do tangent drawing. So what you do, so this is the linear approximation of transform of space. This is the linear approximation of transform things in transform of space. This is the linear approximation. So same thing I have separately given picture of that. So this is the linear approximation of this transform of space. That means we had a rectangle, after transformation it has been transformed into some another non-rectangle kind of thing, and after that we apply Taylor's theorem. We do approximate this transform object as a rectangular, again parallelogram. You can say that it is a parallelogram. So thanks to Taylor's theorem you can say that. So what we do, if you try to see clearly, Jacobian picture will come here. So what is happening here? So in order to calculate probability in the domain of space, given a space, what you have to do, you have to multiply this area with the corresponding density function. This is the density in this area. So suppose this one is, you can observe that this length is what, dx, this length is what, dy, this length is dy. So total area of this rectangle is infinitesimal, very small. It is a zoom picture. So area of this one would be what, dx into dy, and height over this function f of xy is defined. So if someone is willing to calculate probability, that what you have to do, you have to calculate this probability by multiplying the corresponding height. That probability will give what, infinitesimal probability. That will give infinitesimal probability. So this one, it would be equal to probability this is density of in the transform space time Jacobian. Okay, Jacobian, and then Jacobian time some extra, what extra we are getting here, this we are calling it Jacobian. Thanks, it is coming with respect to Jacobian. Otherwise you can easily observe that if you want to calculate probability over this one and probability of this one, it would be not equal. Then how you can equate these two? By multiplying this Jacobian. So this is the Jacobian of the transformation. We are calling it Jacobian of the transformation. And there is a, whether you go from right to left, that means whether xy space to u vw or vw to xy, so both are possible, because I had taken a unique solution, that means in invertible condition, and there is a relation. If you are going from x to xy to vw, what you have to do, then you are talking about transformation from xy plane to vw. So that means you will talk about Jacobian of uh, Jacobian of the transformation with respect to xy. So this will come. And similarly if you come from VW to XY plane, then that time you have to talk about Jacobian of transformation from VW, and there is a relation that both happens to be inverse to each other. So that is the relation between both kind of Jacobian. And just using the same concept, we can say that the PDF of transform a random variable is very near to the PDF of given random variable xy times Jacobian with respect to transform variable. Jacobian with respect to transform variable. So this is a very interesting relation. It is coming due to this geometry. From the geometry, it might be clear. So it is a relation between same thing for derived random variable function of one variable. We had already seen that here situation is for two variable. And similarly, you can go for three variable, four variable, five variable, whatever. How many variable you want to take, you can go for that. Okay. So one problem I would like to take it here. There is a very interesting a story regarding this student heat distribution. If you are very much interested, you can Google it, and then you will see the story behind the name of this student heat distribution. Distribution. Okay, you can Google it. You will see a lot of a story regarding this. So let x be a random variable with zero mean, and it is a univariate Gaussian. Okay, and y be a chi square random variable with n degree of freedom. So this one is also very interesting kind of random variable. You can always generate it from Gaussian distribution. It is just one kind of you can say that it is a derived distribution of Gaussian random variable y. Y is a derived distribution. Chi square is coming from Gaussian distribution. So it is a derived form. Simply I would like to say that. So right now I'm not going to discuss about how chi square is coming from the random variable. Just consider it is a function of normal random variable. Okay, so we are having two random variable x. That one is univariate Gaussian random variable with zero mean. Another random variable, that one y, that happens to be a chi square random variable. That means has been generated from a normal random variable by squaring method. Okay, now assume that x and y happens to be independent to each other. Okay, then we have to find the PDF of the this function of x and y. That means that we are giving name b. B equal to, it is defined x by a square root of y by n. So it is, we are having a new random variable. You can say that it is a transformed random variable. But here we observe only one transform function, that v. Where is w? So in order to apply a change of transformation, we have to introduce some auxiliary random variable, auxiliary function. That auxiliary function we are calling it that v is this one, and then what is w? W is equal to second variable, or you can go take first variable. It depends upon your choice what you want to proceed with. So here that's where name auxiliary function is coming. So because we want to transform xy to vw, that's why v is already given here. What would be w? W take one of the primal random variable. So one of y is the primal random variable. That's why w equal to y I have taken. Okay. Then the random variable x, y are related to v and w. How is related? Like this way: x equal to v by x equal to, okay, so v equal to this one. So simplified. So from here you will see that you can revert x equal to v times square root of w by n. And similarly you can say that if w equal to y, then y equal to w. That means x and y we have already expressed in terms of w. That means it is invertible kind of function. There is an association between x, y and w. That means if you want to go from x and xy to VW, then you can go also, you can come back through this transformation. This will be the invert transformation. Okay, also what we have to do, we have to find both the Jacobian. We can find any of the Jacobian, whether you find Jacobian from VW to xy or xy to VW. Uh, it is similar. Why? Because if you find one Jacobian, then easily you can get another Jacobian by doing inverse. Okay, so that's where. So if you just find Jacobian of VW, that one is very easy to calculate. Because why? Because if you are going to find Jacobian of this one, so here it would be what? It would function reciprocal would be there. But if you see from VW to XY, what you observe here, you observe that it is just product function, and this one is the same function. So it is always easy to proceed with product function rather than division function. So that's why here Jacobian is calculated like this way. So this is the Jacobian from VW to XY, and simplify it. The Jacobian happens to be determinant of this matrix, and simplify it is just nothing, just square root of W by N. Okay, so it will imply that we can easily get transform PDF as a actual PDF and Jacobian. So actual PDF and Jacobian. Actual PDF is what? So the X is what? Gaussian. It is Gaussian in nature. Okay. Y is what? Y is a chi-square. What is the distribution of chi-square? This is the distribution of chi-square. It is directly coming from normal distribution. Derivation is not difficult, very simple. So this one is coming with respect to distribution of y, that means chi-square, and these are the normalizing factor. This is the normalizing factor for distribution of x. This is the normalizing factor for distribution of y. Okay, and multiply this one with that uh, Jacobian, corresponding Jacobian of transformation, and after simplification you will come to see that this is the uh, what PDF of transform random variable. This is the PDF of transform random variable. So easily we can get it like this way. Little bit calculation might be little bit complicated. So what you have to find it here. You got joint PDF of V and W, but you just have to find PDF of V only, because question is that you have to find PDF of V only. So how you can find? Normalize this with this. So exhaust here W. That means integrate this one with respect to W, and everything, these are constant, it will come out from the integral, you can see here. And V is also independent of W. It is, so take it out and just integrate this integral. So this integral, it may look like complicated, don't worry, just leave it as usual. And this is your, see here you can observe that W has been exhausted, remaining thing only we are having V. So that's where this one is PDF of V. And just consider this one is what? It is a fixed number. It would be, after integrating, it would be a fixed number. You can, it can behave like it is just component of normalizing constant, not more than that. So that is the way to calculate PDF of function of random variable. By introducing every second function is not given here, then you can introduce that with the help of auxiliary function approach. Okay, so now we will do one more thing, that we will find joint PDF of a n function of n random variable. What we are having in last case, we had two function of two random variable. Here that means a random factor of uh, two function of random factor of dimension 2, but here we are generalizing it to n function of n random variable. So what would be scenario would be like this way. So we are having a random vector x whose components happens to be a random variable x1 x2 up to xn. That means it is a n vector valued. Now here now we will define an n vector valued function of this one. How? Z1 equal to g1 of x, z2 equal to g2 of x, likewise zn equal to gn of x. So in that process we are getting n vector valued function, first second, like this way. Okay, so here what we observe, we assume that the set of the equation it is having unique solution. So that means we are having this relation between among the random variable, and the corresponding value will have this relation, and we assume that for simplicity this equation is having unique solution. That means every x is having unique solution. For each w, each z, we are getting unique x. So that is the criteria. We don't go for multiple case. Okay, so and that solution we are naming this one x1 equal to h1 of z, x2 equal to h2 of z, xn equal to hn of z, like this way. Okay, so how we can have to, now we have to find joint PDF of z. How we can find? Very simple, it is very simple to find. Take actual PDF of the given random variable or random vector, and multiply this with Jacobian of transformation. Multiply this and you will get joint PDF of z. Okay, and in this everything is already explained here. Just for your simplicity, I came across with this notation. You can look every notation, whether which one easy to calculate, which Jacobian is easy to calculate, just calculate according to your convenience. Okay, don't worry about that. Whichever you want to calculate and proceed with, and because they both are related to each other. Okay. So I will talk about very simple case here. The transformation happens to be linear transformation. So linearly we transform one given random vector to another random vector by linear transformation. So transformation happens like this way. Z equal to a times x. So x is what? It is a n-dimensional random vector. Z is and we are multiplying that with a matrix. Then matrix always bring a linear transformation. That one is a very trivial concept from linear algebra. Several times I had already mentioned that. So here we perform a linear transformation. Linearly we transform x to z with this matrix A. Okay, it is a n by n matrix. Now we will see the PDF of z. Okay, so the component of z are what? It is just do multiplication. That means you are multiplying with respect to this matrix. X you are multiplying with respect to this matrix. So if you are trying to find jth component of z, what would be it? It will be just this sum. You are multiplying aij with xj, where you are running over I from 1 to n, and after that you are getting this number. This number is actually value of zi. Okay, and I you can vary from 1 to n. Okay, and what you do from here, from this relation, you can easily observe that if you differentiate zi with respect to xj, the derivative would be aij. So you are differentiating zi with respect to xj. So this is the derivative. It is a linear derivative. If you differentiate a linear function, always you are getting that coefficient term. So same thing is coming. So aij happens to be coefficient, and you can find Jacobian through this. Jacobian is talking about determinant of this matrix. Okay, and Jacobian of x and Jacobian of z both are related to each other. Both are inverse to each other. So if you are able to get Jacobian of x, you can always find Jacobian of z. There is no issue. Okay, so Jacobian would be also linear in nature. So what would be it, because it is talking about linear transformation, so it would be just a matrix, one by determinant of this matrix. Okay, Jacobian of z would be like this way. So just according to previous formula, what would be density of z? It would be equal to density of x, that actual density, times Jacobian, modulus of Jacobian, because we don't need any negative thing. Always PDF happens to be positive. That's why we are taking modulus over this Jacobian. Okay, so it would be what? So f of x in term of x equal to h of z, it would be what? It would take this form, f of a inverse into z, through that same formula what I had already told, that you are getting a relation like this way, ax equal to y. That means you have to find the inverse image provided y is invertible. So what is inverse image? It would be uh, x equal to a inverse y. So same situation is coming here, a inverse y. Okay, so same thing I have taken it here. So in place of y we are having z, so it is written like this way, in multiplied with Jacobian. Jacobian is what? 1 by determinant of a, 1 by determinant. So it is coming like this way. So this is the PDF for linear transformation of n random variable. So this is a very generic formula. I will go for few example before winding up this class. Okay, so just one example that I'm talking about sum of n random variables. Suppose n I have taken 3, n equal to 3. So we are having three-dimensional Gaussian, three-dimensional random vector. And what we have to then we have to find PDF of joint PDF of sum of these three random variables, x1 plus x2 plus x3. So how we can find? Now we use the following transformation by we can introduce a auxiliary function. We will say that z1 equal to x1, z2 equal to x1 plus x2, and z3 equal to x1 plus x2 plus x3. So here we are having a single function, but for transformation purpose we need exactly same number of function. What is as according to the dimension of the random vector. So here dimension of random vector is 3, but we are having only one vector. That's why we are introducing two equilibrium functions, z1 equal to x1 and z2 equal to x1 plus x2. From here we can deduce the relation between x1 and xi and zi like this way. That means reciprocal relation would be x1 equal to z1, x2 equal to, just simplify it here. So x2, from here x2 equal to z2 minus x1, and x1 is equal to what? Z1. So that's why you can say that x2 equal to z2 minus z1, and x3 is what? Similarly x3 equal to z3 minus z2. now it would be very easy to find Jacobian with respect to Z. It is very easy to find. So that's why I have taken this notation. Also, both Jacobian are easy, but inverse no one like it to find inverse. So what is the Jacobian of X? Jacobian of X, so that means Jacobian of X, that means we have to differentiate the vector valued function with respect to X, and in that process we will get a matrix, that Jacobian matrix, that we are calling it Jacobian matrix or derivative matrix. Take determinant that will give Jacobian value of the Jacobian. So here you can observe that you are going from, you are finding derivative with respect to X. So that means what is your vector function? You can write it like this way. First component of vector function is z1 equal to x1. Second component of vector function is z2 equal to what? Z2 equal to x1 plus x2, x1 plus x2. Third component of vector function would be what? Z3. That means z3 equal to x1 plus x2 plus x3. So you can easily see it here, that if you differentiate with respect to x1 in the first z, if you differentiate z1 with respect to x1, you will get 1. If you differentiate with respect to x2, you will get 0. And if you differentiate with respect to x3, you will get 0. That's why your first row is what? 1 0 0. Similarly, your second row, here you observe x1 and x2 both. So differentiate with respect to x1, you will get 1. With further differentiate with respect to x2, you will get again 1. But if you differentiate with respect to x3, it would be 0. So 0 component. And in the last component in Z3, we observe x1, x2, x3, all three are present. So this one is derivative with respect to x1, value of derivative with respect to x1. This one is value of derivative with respect to x2. This one is the value of derivative with respect to x2. So this is the Jacobian matrix, and if you find determinant, that will give value of the Jacobian. And if you, what is the determinant of this one? So it is a upper triangle. You can lower triangle matrix, easily you can observe that in lower triangle matrix, very easy to find determinant. How? Do product of the diagonal matrix entries. So what are the diagonal entries? 1 1 1. So multiplication of 1 1 1 is what? 1. Similarly, what you do? Take what would be the value of Jacobian? It would be just 1 by 1. That means equal to 1. But intensely, I have taken another approach, that separately I found Jacobian matrix for Z, and this is the Jacobian matrix, and find the determinant. It is equal to 1. So just for your understanding, I have taken it. So what is the last part? So find the transform PDF. What is that? Actual PDF and Jacobian. So Jacobian is equal to 1, so it won't affect anything. So it is actual PDF. In that you have to substitute x1, x2, x3 in term of z1, z2, z3. So this is your desired PDF of function of and random variable or function of random vector. So regarding attendance, go and mark your attendance there in the Google Classroom or in the comment box. Okay.